Hi there! You're tuning in with Lorraine Chai, the book author of Stringstastic Music Theory books for violin, viola, and cello. Now, today's topic would be on drawing clefs. I do know that there are many different ways of teaching clefs, and the way that I teach my students differs depending on the circumstance of the student themselves. I'm going to start with the easiest clef, and I'm going to be taking references from my books, my ensemble series for violin, viola, and cello. So the easiest clef that for me to teach would be the alto clef for the viola. So let's look at the alto clef. Now the alto clef, the way that I introduce this is this. It looks like a number, or a couple of numbers, three numbers, 1, 1, 3. You don't have to always explain that they don't have to follow the thickness of the lines itself. This is just a font. So all you have to do is just write 1, 1, 3. Now it explains in my books in terms of how you draw the clefs. I like to draw clefs away from the stave just as first, so that the students understand how it looks like before you actually introduce it on the stave. So initially write it on a blank piece of paper, 1, 1, 3. And then when they start writing on the clef, the alto clef determines where the C note is located, fair enough. And what's happening is you're going to be drawing two curved lines to fit or to match in the middle. So it's two equal size of C's to kind of match in the middle, which looks like a 3 in my opinion. So that's the alto clef itself. Now the second easiest clef to draw would be the bass clef. And the same thing, I would introduce the bass clef on a blank piece of paper before introducing on the stave. So this is from my cello series. Now the cello series here is talking about the bass clef. The way I explain the bass clef is that it looks like half of a heart shape. So if I just take my marker here, it looks like that, right? So it's kind of half of a heart shape. So that is for a bass clef. However, when you do draw it on the clef, you start from the second line on the top, start with a big dot and have a curve around it. After that, if you notice where it started, what I like to explain is you need two bodyguards to look after the starting point, which is where it sits. It sits right on the top there, looking after the starting point, rather than in the middle, because sometimes kids tend to do this and then the dots start in the middle like the repeat sign, because they already know what the repeat sign is by then, right? So always explain that they have to, well, I explain it anyway, that there's two bodyguards that's looking after the starting point itself. So that's the bass clef. I think I've seen some people drawing it the other way like this, and the dots as well. But like I said, I like to start from the top with a big dot or a starting point, and then half of a heart shape down in the middle, and the bodyguards protecting the starting point itself on the space so that they're visibly clear itself. So that's the bass clef for me. Now the hardest clef to teach is the treble clef. Treble clef is this, right? And the way that I explain it is this, the same process with the other clefs. You have to get students to draw it away from the clef itself, because the treble clef is one of the hardest clef to draw, in my opinion anyway. I have seen people drawing the clef, let's take my marker out, drawing the clef this manner, or teachers that teach it this manner. I don't know how to do it this way, but I have seen some teachers doing it this way. I am more familiar with this way. And the way that I explain how to draw a treble clef is this. First of all, I explain how a treble clef should look like. And the way I explain it is by using this figure here. A treble clef looks like a person or a human being, where the tummy or the body part is bigger than the head, usually, most of the time. And then with the head standing up nice and tall, you have the back that is straight down in the middle. And then you have the leg, or one leg of the treble clef just hanging down below. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw a circle around to the right, circling around and around and around. There are different ways of explaining this. And then if you go opposite direction up to the top, and remember your back is straight, so make sure you draw down through the middle with the leg hanging down at the bottom. Remember, Sometimes it's really tricky to draw and students still have difficulties with this. And with that, sometimes it's good to kind of help or guide them through the process of drawing. So what you can do is draw a couple of light versions of treble clef and get them to trace it, but always tell them to start from the middle. Because sometimes you get students drawing it like this and then they do this, right? There's many different versions of a treble clef that they will or might do. So if that is the case and they still have problem after you explain how to draw a treble clef, just as this page, what you can do is get them to trace the treble clefs a few times, explaining the process, or rather getting them to draw it like this and then taking the steps away bit by bit, so they can do this and then straight down like this with the tail. And once they're proficient in that, you can take more lines away and they can do this. And then once they're really good in doing that, then this version, right? All right, so after they kind of familiarize themselves in regards to drawing the treble clef on a blank piece of paper, there is two ways I would suggest in teaching this. Either this way from the top downwards or from the bottom upwards. Let me explain. So first, I explain how the treble clef would sit. Now remember how it looks like a person, right? The body of the treble clef is, because it's big, it's going to sit within the two space of the stave at the bottom. And the guy, he wants to see stuff, or he's sitting up nice and tall, which means that his head is almost peering on the top, just enough that the eyes can see over the top of the stave, and he's got his back straight back, sitting down with the leg hanging down at the bottom, which is where that hook is, right? So remember, if your student is able to draw it just like this, easily like that, then by all means you can start from the top. However, if they do struggle, ask them to start from the bottom. So remember, initially they trace it first, and then slowly, remember, taking steps away so they can do this and continue on with this. Take another step away, ask them to complete the treble clef as indicated, and then they can do this. And then what you can do is give them a blank stave and get them to draw it. Young kids that are able to draw the treble clefs usually end up drawing pages and pages of treble clefs at home, because they enjoy drawing a treble clef, and sometimes it looks pretty cool. So that is how I would explain treble clefs. The treble clef looks like a person, the bass clef looks like a half of a heart shape, and the alto clef is just 3 numbers, 113. I hope that is helpful. If you have any suggestions or a different way that you would like to share, please do share on our channel. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Hope to see you on the next video. Bye!